satisfaction. The entire team, everybody that we were able to bring to work the event is here standing along the wall. I'm not going to introduce everybody at this point in time, but the primary people who will be answering your questions are sitting at the table. And I'd like to introduce everybody here. Everybody you probably already know, but we'll go through it just in case you've been living under a rock for the last 2 or 3 days and don't know any of these people. Rosie Rappaport is our senior art director on the team. Jeff Butler is the creative director. Darren McPherson is the lead designer. Steve Klug is our technical director, and the guy on the end is my boss, so please be nice to him. Dave Georgeson, the director of development. All right, so I know we have people from all of the panels that didn't get their questions, so if we'll form up in the middle here, I'll come down there and we'll start with the questions. For this, please limit your questions to 1 at a time. If you have more than one, you can go to the back of the line and try to work your way forward. We'll get to as many as we can over the next, looks like, 57 minutes. 57 minutes.
Okay, the question I have is, are we going to be restricted to one starting city, or will we have racial starting cities like in the other games?
Oh, man.
That is a great first question.
Perfect example of what we just talked about.
Yeah, it is.
So, Dave, that's all you.
Yeah, we just can't commit to that answer yet. The history and lore that we have right now leans towards one direction, but we haven't finalized that answer, and it's been one of those things we constantly debate inside. And so when we have a final answer, we'll let you know. Sorry about that.
First off, I was asked to state that Aradoon is stinky. And my question is, will our European friends have a chance to get into the betas?
Yeah.
Yes. That's an easy question. From a very hard question to a very easy question.
You know,
I like this.
the people in Zimbabwe can play, too, if they want to.
Yes.
Wait, them?
There's some kind of disconnect that I have between the 2 games, Landmark and EverQuest Next, and I was just wondering why the design decision to name it EverQuest Next Landmark rather than just have it be Landmark and EverQuest Next, because there's such a Landmark feels so much more free than EverQuest Next because of the design aesthetic in EverQuest Next, but you can build anything in Landmark. So why?
That's strictly a business decision. We wanted people to be absolutely aware that EverQuest Next Landmark was the gateway to EverQuest Next. That it was going to be a vehicle by which we could allow the community to help us build that new Norath. You can do a lot more with it, but we wanted everybody to darn well know that that's what it was for. That we really wanted to build that Norath together, and that this was the vehicle.
So just to clarify.
Yeah. But you can build anything you want to. You can also help.
This is the lore question, actually, that I wanted to ask during the lore panel, but wasn't able to. I know it's kind of like the focal point. Would you say it's like a new re-envisioning, kind of like J.J. Abrams' new Star Trek movies and all that? And you can really see the difference in like EQ2, there is no moon, Luckland has been blown up. EQ1, Luckland's full of moon kitties and whatnot. But I was wondering from a lore perspective, I know we've seen in the demos the Karens, but the only continent we haven't heard from at all in any of the discussions is Otis. Are the Karens still from the Kara Islands, or can you go into any of the history behind them meeting the elves? Or
We can.
Hold on. Can we make sure the other mic is on?
Hello.
Oh, okay.
Ready.
All right, Ryan?
Ryan?
Well, the short answer is no. We can't talk specifically about how that goes on, but you're going to be seeing a lot more of that stuff that you're used to. Names like Otis and, I don't know, some of the other cities and whatnot are going to start coming up as we dive more into the story, and as we start, you know, we'll be putting probably some articles up on the web or something that will describe a lot of that stuff, so you'll know a lot more of that going forward.
Yeah, too early to say.
My question is on mechanical transparency, I guess. When EQ launched, there wasn't even numerical mana. And there's been sort of a trend in newer MMOs of giving the players as little information as possible on exactly how what they have works, which is kind of an attempt to stop min-maxing. But the problem is players figure that stuff out anyways, so it just creates a have and have-not situation.
Why-
People who know how things really work get the benefit. So to what extent are you planning on showing how everything works behind the scenes to the players?
So, I mean, transparency is, in many things, is one of the things that we strive for. So you can certainly expect to see those things in combat. It would be, because you're right. People figure that out. There'll be a mod out there somewhere that points these things, or you can modify your UI or whatever, and so we'll give you the information that's pertinent to combat. So.
If you choose not to look at it, if it's your preferred style of gaming, we don't force it down your throat.
Right.
But honestly, many of us are those min-maxers, right? We have an entirely transparent philosophy for reasons that you will learn more about in months to come.
So I have many questions, but I'll stick to one. Hopefully somebody else will ask about trade skills and so forth. That hasn't happened. A lot of information on that. But
Nice leading, nice prompting. Well done.
any one of these guys want. Hopefully more information will come on that. But I'll stick to a question that I don't think will come up much. But I really thought Star Wars Galaxy had some great aspects to it, non-combat things, and some of the one of the things about that game that I thought was very unique, and I'm hoping perhaps in EverQuest Next, was that every object had a 3D spatial representation. So like your weapon, you take it from your inventory, drop it in your house, bam, there it is. Is that, or is it just an icon in the bag? So that's kind of, I'm hoping a little bit more representation on objects, items. I like the vet voxels and world, but I'm talking like your swords or shields and that kind of stuff.
So we loved Galaxies. We could go into great depth. Expect to see stuff in the world, right? I want to hang my sword on the wall.
Yeah.
And then some.
I have a fairly general question. I guess we keep hearing the term tiers, and I'm kind of wondering, is tiers kind of like EQ2 where you need like tier 1 nodes to get crafting and it's X locations? Or are we actually talking the tiers of the world? Like you can, you're on the ground, that's tier 1, and you drop down.
That's a great question.
We use it to refer to a number of things,
right?
One of which is certainly the tiers of content underground or above ground.
But it's not necessarily dictated to one area. So the area outside Kinos may be tier 1 on the surface, and it will get higher as you go down. But the area in Lava Storm may start at tier 3 on the surface.
And the other thing that's very important is that character advancement also refers to tiers, and those two have an intimate relationship. So if Darren and I are going to be adventuring together in a tier 3 area, in general, we should be tier 3 or better in terms of our character advancement, right, to be appropriate for that particular area. So the two match up in general.
First off, I hope you guys aren't going to let Jeff get away with stealing that Nagy hat, because they didn't give one away last time.
Oh, no, I realized we forgot one.
Yeah, okay,
we'll
good.
give away both of them during this day.
I don't believe that we have forgotten any.
And then my question. So in EQ1, night and day was a real big thing. If you were, let's say, a barbarian, you couldn't see at night. You literally needed a torch to get anywhere. Okay, that kind of stuff. Also, obviously, mobs changed in the world, Kithwoods, all that kind of stuff. And you've shown off Forge Light. We've seen how nice it is. You've shown us the night and day. Can we expect races to have different infravisions and all that kind of stuff, or is it going to be?
So you touch upon a really interesting subject, and that's the pitch darkness of the original EverQuest game. I can tell you straight away that sort of thing, pitch darkness, is a bit of denial of service, right? People who absolutely couldn't see and couldn't play couldn't continue. You will not see it in our game. Entering the game, not being able to move around, not being able to see anything, no. However, The use of darkness to exploit mood, situation, to bring out emotionality and fear, effectively a changing day-night cycle that is absolutely real, where you can adventure in the darkness. You can go underground, and it is extremely dark, maybe pitch dark in places you go, but not in places that you start. Hugely important to us. The need to carry a torch and a light source, hugely important to us. But not to the level where you're not going to be able to play the game in the areas where you would expect to be able to.
But it will make a big enough difference.
Oh, we want a big difference. We want that emotionality. I mean, part of, Rosie's mentioned, several people have mentioned, Dave mentioned in his debut, darkness, that contributes to a feeling of adventure. Going underground without a light source, that should be scary. But walking through the forest where you spawn should not necessarily be something you can't do.
And to go along with that, one of the other parts of that question is that we have a living, breathing world that is going to be created with these games. Things can happen with changes in day-night. NPCs that are out, merchants, they may only be out during the day, just like you'd expect a shop owner only to be out during the day. So things can change from day to night based on what's going on in the world.
That's that emergent AI thing again. Right. Yes. Shopkeepers don't like night.
Yep. Shady merchants might, though, right?
Yep.
Orcs
right.
might.
Right, black market merchants, that sort of thing.
Like Darren, he's a shady merchant.
Totally shady.
In any particular tunnel that we've shown?
To expand on the European player question before, because I think this is what it was reaching for, I'm in a guild with mainly European players, even though I'm from the US, and a lot of them, they're trying to sign up for the beta, they're getting redirected to the Procebian website, or however you pronounce that. They're wondering, is it going to be something where it is regionally blocked, or are they going to have the ability to, without doing IP spoofs and things of that nature, jump on the US servers and sign up for a beta in the game?
Somebody started a petition, which is filling up my inbox with hundreds and hundreds of emails. I'd like to let them know that they can stop, that I've got the message, and we'll talk about it after we go back to the office.
Fantastic.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'll stop sending email.
You talk about a living, breathing world, and using the example of the orcs finding the lonely road. What if you're fighting the orc king? Is it the artificial intelligence good enough now that the bosses aren't scripted, but they learn from what's happening to them in the fight, and they adjust their tactics based on what's happening to them?
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely. What you just described is exactly what happens. To what extent we want it to what extent the difficulty of the encounter dictates, right? We can tune NPC intelligence up, so they always make really, really good choices, and it's very difficult to beat them. Or we can tune it down for the average content that we expect you to be fighting.
Yeah, watch out for those player character kiting NPC druids.
Yep. Exactly. They're going to quad kite you, get you in a big bunch, and then, yeah. Quad kite. That's great.
So to expand on the previous question, how quick can we expect this change? I suspect the days of camping placeholders for hours are long gone now.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's not really how the content of the game even functions.
So it's going to be in a raid situation where we spoke about, the boss figuring out who's doing the most damage and targeting them or focusing on them. How fast can we expect that to change?
It's probably too early to be absolutely specific. It is a great question, but the point to take home is that the more difficult encounters will, in some cases, be characterized by more intelligent AI, where the utility of their actions is more rapidly affected.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm not usually a jerk, but today I'm going to ask a tough question. In his mea culpa last year, when he gave us the bad news at the opening ceremony, Mr. Smedley told us that not only would we see EverQuest Next at this event, but we'd also be able to play it. So obviously that did not happen, and has anybody given him grief over that, and when did that plan go out the window?
Games take a long time to make.
But yes,
I don't know how else to answer that.
Grief has been given.
Grief
yes.
has been given.
Yes.
That's the best way we could say it.
Rinsed and repeated.
Ample grief.
When you're building something new, it's an undefined amount of time to actually build it. That's one of the reasons why we haven't announced a date for EverQuest Next. Part of that is because we're delving into the unknown, and a large part of it is because when we do bring those new features over into Landmark so that you guys can start experimenting with them, we really, really do want to listen to the feedback and be able to take what you have, the kind of advice and the comments and stuff that you have to heart, which means that we can't really put an end date on when EverQuest Next is going to launch. Otherwise, there's no way we can adapt, which would be exactly the reverse of what we want to do.
Yep. Waiting in anticipation is horrible. We're working really hard on making sure that the product that we deliver to you is exactly what we promise and something that you're really going to enjoy, and we appreciate your patience.
I was wondering about the mechanics of the deaths and the recovering of, and what kind of consequences would be facing.
That one's really easy, and we're not ready to talk about it yet. Hate to put you off.
All right, since the world is ever changing and like with the new EverQuest 1 expansion, like Piranhas just changes overnight versus whenever a patch happens. Is it going to, like, are y'all going to implement anything where, say, like progressive patches where, say, like the world explodes like overnight, or not overnight, like it happens and then it's while players are actually playing instead of, hey, patch day, oh, this zone's completely different.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that Dave talked about when he talked about the rallying calls. That's exactly the kind of things you're talking about is exactly what we expect to be happening in the game all of the time, not just on every Tuesday or every Thursday or whenever we do our patches. It's something the world is constantly changing around you based on what you do and as the story progresses for what we're trying to show to the players.
That literally is the ongoing process of participation in the game.
Right.
And the voxel-based world opened up that possibility for us because we don't have to build new art.
Yeah, so it doesn't just happen when the server comes down and the server comes up and now the world's exploded. It happens over time.
Yeah, you could watch as the wall, as the front wall of Kinos fell down.
In fact, probably the opposite is going to be similar to the truth. We're probably going to be updating the servers with stuff that will happen in the future, not right now.
Right.
1 second. All right, so we're going to give away the first of the two Nagy hats, and I have a difficult question, so we're going to see how much homework you guys have done about the people that are working on this game. Dave Georgeson has been in the industry for a very long time, and he's the only one who's going to be able to tell me if you're right or not. Do you know any other game that's not based on SOE that Dave has worked on? Anybody? There's a gentleman in the back.
Chess?
World of Darkness?
No.
No?
Oh, wait, yeah. Pools of Dark. Holy cow. That's a reach. Yeah, that was the first.
Best,
All right.
best. I
well
think that was
done.
the best answer of the entire series of panels.
I didn't know. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that was the first game I ever worked on professionally. I did paper and pencil games before that, but yeah, those SSI Gold Box D&D games. Yeah, that was back when.
Well done.
Well, there was Pools of Radiance, Secret of Silver Blades, Pools of Darkness, all those.
So the next question will be harder. Apparently, that wasn't hard enough.
That was a great poll. I didn't know anybody knew that.
Hi, guys. I'm excited about the game. The destructibility of the world is awesome. My question is, will there be environmental damage? Like if I go by Free Rot and there's a little temple thing, and I blow up the temple, and the top part of the temple falls into the mob, will it like cause like a small stun or something?
So, environmental damage. Yes, that is our intent. So when
in our head.
When something is destroyed or blows up, that in and of itself might create additional damage for people nearby, like an AOE.
Right.
Hey, I was just at the class panel a few hours ago, and they were talking about how much you want to be able to switch your classes, change what you're doing, not have to be stuck under one role. how is this going to affect endgame loot for people and how you distribute it?
So loot distribution mechanics are not something we're talking about, sorry. But we know that that's potentially a problem, and we have fixes for that. So we know. I mean, we've been in those situations before. We know exactly what this could cause, and we're addressing those things. So I think you guys will be very happy with how loot works. Wow.
Well, I get to be a sacrificial beast lord for once for my raid force here. I was sent to ask about races, Ixar and Utunga for the EQ Next. Any word on them?
So during the presentation, during the debut, we announced 6 of the initial player races that are going to be available inside of EQ Next. That is not the complete list, but we are not talking about anything else except for the 6 that we have put out there so far. We will be announcing that in the future, so look forward to when we talk about how we're going to expand that list.
So last night during one of the panels, the question came up about disrupting a rally call. You wanted to be the bad guy. Team gave it a definitive yes, you're going to be able to do that. I'd really like for you to elaborate on what system you're going to use to do that.
So the disruption probably comes in the form of not doing it. You can choose to not participate, but generally the rallying calls are not going to go in the reverse, right? If the rallying call is to build up the city of Kinos, it's not going to happen in reverse.
Last night, Robert specifically asked if I want to be the bad guy and stop Hallis. You guys said yes.
I can answer. I can discuss what we were talking about there, which is that there are many ways in which rallying calls can be progressed.
Okay.
And there are ways in which players can disrupt aspects of that progression. For instance, if there were a part of a rallying call that required you to collect wood in the area because the NPCs need that, you could disrupt it by going and cutting down every tree that you see and making sure that there's no wood that anybody else can get. You know, but that doesn't mean that not getting wood is going to stop other avenues of progression. So that's the means by which you can disrupt aspects of it.
We're not actually building a game that's set up so that you can grief.
No, that's what I'm getting. That's exactly what I'm getting.
I didn't mean you specifically. I didn't mean to be in attack mode. I just meant.
No, that's what I'm getting at. Because that was the system, they gave it a definitive yes, and I'm like, that right there, and you know what's going to happen.
Right.
Right. So that's why I wanted to push you on it.
No, it's a good clarification.
Good clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
I understand you're not going to tell us about what other races are going to be released, but can you tell us specifically what the trolls have been up to?
But that would be telling.
In movement.
Yes. Tricky.
With all the multi-classing going on and the moving away from having to have certain classes, is that going to decrease group and raid size requirements as far as, 24 players down to 20 or whatever, and 5 in a group or whatever?
It's one of the things that we're not yet talking about, right? Unfortunately.
But it's in discussion.
I really wish we could talk about all this raid stuff and everything like that, because I think that you guys are going to really like the answers, but it's just one of those things we're holding back. The line I keep using with everybody is we did open the black box, but we're keeping a bunch of surprises for the future. This is a long road, and we want to be able to talk about these things one at a time as we go through. That's why we gave a list of things that we were very proud of, and we know that would change the game, because we want to talk about those a lot before we start getting into the other elements of the game. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, we basically chose our battles in coming here.
Right.
That kind of superseded my question. I was wondering if you had an end goal of large-scale raids, perhaps.
An end goal what?
An end goal of large-scale raids in EverQuest Next?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's definitely the same question.
Yeah.
So it hasn't come up yet, but I'm going to tell you guys the same things I told the people in the class panel. We've decided as a group that every time somebody asks about a particular class, we randomly remove one from the game. I'm joking. We're not actually going to do that. But we're not going to talk about anything that we haven't already talked about as far as races and classes go. So if that's your question, I apologize. Hopefully you have time to think of another one before you get up to the front of the line.
We just removed the Heather race from the game.
Oh, yeah. There's multiples. It's fun.
Hi, I'm very interested in, and others in the community are very interested in building websites which help people look up their characters, improve their characters, like what we've done with EQ2U. And
Which is brilliant, by the way.
Thank you.
Serious, it's fantastic.
And I would like to know what support EverQuest Next and Landmark game will have support for census on day one. Will it?
We certainly will have something similar, not necessarily on day one, but it may not be exactly census. But there are plans to expose as much data as we can to the community.
And as soon as we can, you'll know about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have
you
to say,
specifically will know about it.
I have to say, Feldon, everybody told me you were tall. I did not realize exactly what they meant until you were standing right in front of me.
I think he's about as tall as the Karen, actually. Yes.
I don't know if you talked membership fees, but will it be included as part of the All Access membership EQ Next?
Wow, we haven't made that decision yet. Okay. But I mean, SOE has always supported All Access. I wouldn't be really surprised if we don't have some version.
And would it have the same glitches like in EQ2? If I...
Nice.
Yeah, we were intending to leave all glitches in, yes.
Glitches are in.
If I have a petition in one game, I can't put a petition in another game until that first petition is resolved. So there's a lot of glitches with being an all-access member and playing your games exclusively, which I want to do, but there's still some challenges involved in all that.
Okay, that's fair. We should have we should go down that list and figure out what the issues are. But I just don't have an answer for you.
And that was such a great question.
I mean, we certainly don't want to leave glitches in. And when we build a new stuff for EQN and for Landmark, of course we're not going to aim for that. So yeah, I would hope that they get removed.
I was so going to tell you that the EQ2 panel was down the hall, but it actually applied to us, so it's not a valid answer anymore.
So you talked about some of mob difficulty coming from AI, adapting to player tactics and so forth. How do you prevent mobs from doing things that are smart, advantageous for them, but not fun? For example, if a hypothetical smart mob in, say, EQ1, a smart thing for them to do would be to, chase the clerics and ignore everyone else. How do you prevent them from doing things like that?
So that's a great question. If that is a valuable thing for them to do, they'll do it. But I can't imagine that running around after a fleeing player, unless that player is the last player on the battlefield, would be advantageous to them, especially as other people are attacking them. When we can reveal how the combat AI works in detail, you'll see that just doesn't happen.
I mean, it sounds like the obvious solution for your hypothetical EQ1 monster to do that, but it's not really that advantageous for the monster, because as soon as he goes chasing after you, well, guess what? Everybody else piles on him and can do damage for free. So I mean, there's always pros and cons to tactics. So
threat assessment. There's a lot of threat assessment.
Sorry. At the lore panel, we were told that every action will have some kind of consequences. So if you play the game in certain ways, then other factions or something will be interacting with you differently. So that means pretty much factions. At the same time, there are examples like in Skyrim. If you steal something and nobody sees that, you don't get a faction hit. Did you consider that approach?
Did you get it?
I didn't.
I was basically saying if you wanted to steal something and nobody saw you steal it, would you be taken for faction?
It's the question of global knowledge of the world versus perceived knowledge of the world.
That's an excellent question, and I'll repeat it for everyone just so that we're clear. Effectively, if I steal this hat while you're all faced away from me,
he's going to get that.
And you don't know, you didn't know that it was gone. Am I credited with being despicable in any way or a thief for factions? For the people in the hotel, my fellow team members, et cetera, et cetera. The answer is, if no one perceives what you have done, then they will not necessarily regard you negatively. It is theoretically possible that you will have some statistics that might be attached to your actions that are global, but it's a little too early to be more specific than that.
Yeah.
Certainly the baker would not hate you if you stole his muffin and he didn't know it.
Well, we'd still want you to be, you know, rewarded for doing things when no one was there, right?
But if I kill one before, how one works one like that? So if I kill one or nobody sees me, so how do they know that I killed?
It's a great question.
Well, you know, just carrying on probably too far, the Muffin Man example. He might, though, notice that the muffins are getting stolen and stop putting them out.
There you go.